All right, so you're trying to wrap your head around this whole carbon footprint thing, huh? Well, you've come to the right place. We dug through all the important stuff to bring you a really focused view, without all the extra noise and everything. Basically, our goal today is pretty simple. We're going to break down this whole idea of a carbon footprint, based on the core message we found.
Yeah, exactly. You want just the key takeaways, and all our sources, like, they really all boil down to one main point.
Okay, so let's dig into this a little bit. The main thing we found was this statement: reduce carbon footprints. It's short, but it's definitely powerful. What's the biggest takeaway for you from that statement?
Well, I think it's interesting how it's like a call to action.
Yeah.
Like the word reduce, it tells us right away that carbon footprints are something we can control, and something we should be trying to make smaller. It means we have a role to play here.
Yeah, it's not just like an observation. It's actually telling us to do something about it. But for someone who's, totally new to this, what exactly I see a carbon footprint? Like, what are we supposed to be reducing?
So if we zoom out a bit, think of it like this. A carbon footprint is basically like all the greenhouse gases that we make, by just doing our everyday stuff. Think about the energy you use in your house, how you travel around, the stuff you buy, even the food you eat. All of that contributes to it.
Oh, and just so we're clear on how it's measured, when you hear carbon dioxide equivalent, it's just a way to compare different greenhouse gases, not just carbon dioxide itself, in terms of their warming potential.
So it's like the environmental impact of our lives, but measured in this standardized way. And the main message is these emissions, they really matter, which is why we need to reduce them. Exactly. And by focusing on this one thing, on reducing our impact, the source really boils down a super complex issue to its core objective. It implies that, these gases are affecting our climate, and that minimizing them is really, really important.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Even though it's just this short little phrase, we can kind of see this chain of thought. Our activities create these gases impact the environment. Therefore, we need to try and lower, how much we're putting out there.
Absolutely. And that brings up a really important question for you, the listener.
Yeah.
When you hear reduced carbon footprints, what parts of your own life, come to mind where you could make changes?
It really does make you think about everything, doesn't it? I mean, there's the obvious stuff like driving less or getting more efficient appliances, but then there's maybe the less obvious stuff like the whole life cycle of the products we buy.
Exactly. And what's so powerful about this simple message, reduce your carbon footprint, is that it applies to everyone. Whether you're, a climate expert or just learning about this stuff, the idea of lessening your impact, it's something we can all understand and do something about in our own ways.
So for you listening, who wants to understand this quickly? What does this all mean? Well, it means that at its heart, the idea of a carbon footprint is about, realizing our impact and actively looking for ways to make it smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Our source, even though it's short, it really gets this central point across.
The main takeaway here is about minimizing the greenhouse gases that are tied to our way of life. It's a push for a more sustainable way of living.
And as you continue to think about this, I want you to consider the effect that all our individual choices have together. Like, how do those small things we do every day, how do they add up to our overall carbon footprint? And what can we each do to, change that balance by making a conscious effort to reduce our impact? All right, so